My name is Andrew Borchworth. I'm the curator for Decadence Now, and we are at Palazzo della Sal, the Malta Society of Arts in Valletta. Decadence Now is the debut exhibition by City of Art. It brings together fragments, artifacts, stories, and ideas alongside contemporary artworks in reaction to a particular time, the Decadent period, where artists, poets, writers were obsessed with new ideas at the turn of the century. In this room, we bring together two works by Giuseppe Cali, which haven't before been presented together, and which really start to present the idea that artists were fascinated by around death. The human, in its depiction, moves between the living and the dying, and this newborn fascination around the idea of decay is what really continues the thread throughout the exhibition by a number of artists, curators, writers, architects, musicians, and performers from so many disciplines. On the other side of this room, we're contextualizing the idea of decadence beyond Malta's shores, and we have artifacts which really speak about the femme fatale, a subject which seems to be so main at this point in time, so integral to artists who are studying and working in decadence, and which we have compiled together in order to create a context, a baseline of the other works across the exhibition. We have works by Oscar Wilde and Aubrey Beardsley. We feature works by Man Ray of Luisa Casati, and we also have different depictions of females across the history of art. This exhibition presents not only artifacts and artworks, but also a method. We're really presenting first an idea introduced by an illustration commissioned for this project, followed by artifacts and then the contemporary artwork. In this room, we're investigating the Royal Opera House in Malta as a location for audiences to see decadence from across the continent. We have pamphlets and different paraphernalia linking us to the Royal Opera House, which we are very pleased to have in this exhibition. And we are doing this in order to understand the emergence of characters as an important part of the decadent movement. The Salomania, which really took over the continent at this time, is expressed in so many works, and we've chosen to actually include a painting which has a female character at its heart, and whilst it alludes to action happening elsewhere, it really draws the attention of the audience directly to the main character of this artwork. In this contemporary installation by Mike Zarafa, we're investigating the symbol of Salome, this main character of the opera by Strauss, reinterpreting Oscar Wilde's play. Mike Zarafa has chosen to talk about the inversion of characters, and in this room he's actually creating an artwork around that moment of decapitation. Another cornerstone of this project is the overlap of disciplines and the idea that the literary and the artistic, the musical and the poetic really overlap. In this room, we're investigating a Catalan journal by the name of Pell et Ploma, which was published by Ramon Casà, the artist behind the Decadent Girl painting. Pell and Ploma translates to hair and feather and can also be assimilated with the brush and the pen. And it's a really important artifact that ushers in Catalan modernism in Spain. And it also is the point of departure for a contemporary artwork by Maria Toma, which is talking about art for art's sake at this point in time and really makes the case for the fact that decadence just is. We're also choosing to present an artifact in this room which speaks about daily life at the time and really speaks about the familiarity amongst the subject of artists. This garment was given to us for this exhibition by a private collection, and this is a very important aspect of what we are doing here, bringing objects not only from museums and galleries, but from people's own collections and juxtaposing them with contemporary artworks within a new context. This is an artwork called For Its Sake by Maria Toma, which literalizes the artifact displayed in the other room and presents for audiences an abundance of hair and a series of feathers. And what she's doing over here is reversing her current practice, which is writing, and creating something visual out of something which is literary. In this room, we're presenting the idea that decadence is dance, and we're doing this around a very important artifact which we have from the Museum of Lower Austria. We are presenting the fan of the last Empress of Austria of the Habsburg Empire, Empress Zita, and we are choosing to do this because it was very important for us to show elements of the applied arts, decorative arts, but also to speak about a cultural phenomenon at the time, the end of empire, and also the rise of the waltz as a subversive tool within Austrian society. However, the fan also presents very interesting metaphoric potentialities. Its two sides really introduce us to the ideas of life and death, good and evil, the idea that the aesthetic movement and the decadent movement are similarly the two sides of a coin is something that's integral to the work of Luca Zopardi. We are also presenting a work by Félicien Rops, Le Vice Suprême, which was actually made for the book of the same name, and in it life and death are spoken about almost like a dance, and the fan being held in between both characters links us directly to what Luca Zopardi is presenting in his reaction in the same room. This work by Luca Zopardi presents a portrait which reinterprets the detailed work of the fan previously presented. In this portrait, the garment has been made specifically by Zopardi to emulate the fan and also create an experience around which audiences would be able to see the other side of the character's portrait. In this image, he has chosen to depict a very different fan. The portrait chooses to depict a character in changing attitudes. The last room of Decadence now takes us back to the birthplace of Decadence, Paris. Paris is the place where artists were meeting and where all of the ideas of Charles Baudelaire and all his contemporaries really started. In this room, we choose to investigate absinthe, a zeitgeist at the time, an artifact, a spirit, a symbol of what was going on. Intoxication seems to be a subject which is recurring for the decadent movement. Absinthe is spoken about as being the heart of artistic creation and really emulates the spirit of the time. It seems to be a real zeitgeist which motivated so much artistic production and is the subject of this artwork which I produced for this show. This work, we're returning to one of the photographs by Man Ray of Luisa Casati, which seems to show her in movement. And the whole artwork is about ways of seeing, the idea of perception and how absent is really something which questions that and challenges it. In this work, as in the other three, you really start to understand the now part of the exhibition's title, where we investigate moments and fragments of our contemporary existence and how these create artworks which emulate the spirit of the decadent period. Decadence now looks to the curatorial as an art method in itself, and in this way, the exhibition becomes the ultimate art object. This is made possible through collaborations between so many individuals, artists, writers, and curators, but also organizations, institutions, private patrons, and companies whose support has been invaluable throughout the whole process. Decadence Now by City of Art is about a method. It's about reinvestigating objects from the past to forge ideas for our future. It doesn't look to any city in isolation, but rather it makes the case for people to be moving, ideas to be sharing, and for art to come out of that exploration. Audiences are invited to come in to understand what people are saying today, only reinforced by what people have said in the past.